Can we talk about something that feels really hard to admit? You can love your kids more than anything in this world and still feel completely overwhelmed by parenting. Like you would take a bullet for them. You would work yourself into the ground for them. You love them more than you ever thought possible. But also sometimes parenting feels so overstimulating, so exhausting, so mentally draining. And then by the end of the day, your nervous system feels like it just got hit by a truck. And then the guilt comes on because now you're sitting there thinking, why does this feel so much harder for me than it does for all the other parents of the kids my kids are friends with? Or worse, you start to think, am I just bad at this? Well, if you're a parent that has ADHD, there's a reason for this. So let's talk about it. This is Wild Focus. Hey everyone, welcome back to Wild Focus. And if you are new here, I am your host. You're stuck with this guy. And I am exactly 7 months into my official ADHD diagnosis. And this also happens to be a benchmark for the podcast. This will be our 10th episode, which is extremely exciting for me. Being consistent, if you have ADHD, kind of hard sometimes, but we're 10 weeks straight now, and this is pretty awesome. All right. But we are I am 7 months into realizing that my brain is not broken, that it's just wired completely different. And this podcast has been my raw, unfiltered diary, if you will, as I figure out exactly what that all means. And I'm taking you all along for the ride. And if you're listening, you signed up for this. So first off, thank you, but also buckle up because we've covered a lot of awesome things so far, some heavy things, and we're going to continue down both those roads. We're going to get heavy. We're going to have some fun, and today is going to be one of those where I think it's going to fall more on the heavy side, at least for me. And and if you are a parent that is living with ADHD, then this one could be a little bit heavy for you as well too. So, as I am sitting here recording this, to be honest with you, kitchen, living room, probably not in the best shape right now. There's definitely unfinished projects in the house. Directly on the other side of the camera is a unfinished bathroom that I have been working on for about 2 years. Workout area over here. We make progress and then it piles back up with other stuff. There's probably also about 3 half-drink cups of coffee around the house as well. And I'm pretty sure I probably forgot to sign one of my kids' permission slips, not shits. Sorry. Yeah. So that's life. That is real life right now. But again, before my diagnosis of ADHD, a morning like this would probably throw me into like this shame spiral, right? Like, damn it, here we go. Here we go again. It's just another day forgetting to do stuff, forgetting to finish items. Um, I would think, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just be a normal parent? And why is keeping a family alive and organized so excruciatingly hard sometimes? Well, again, if you're a parent with ADHD, you know what that feeling is. And it's the constant overwhelming sensory overload. So today we're going to strip away that perfect parent mask. We're going to look at the raw, messy reality of parenting with ADHD backed by some science and talk about how we can move forward and how we can move from surviving to truly thriving. That was a little cheesy, but we're going to roll with it. Let's start with the hard truth, okay? So, parenting is by definition an onslaught of executive functioning. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, executive functions are the brain's skills that we use to manage time, how we manage to pay attention, switch focus, stay organized, and remember details. Now, think about a typical day with a kid. This requires planning meals, days in advance, managing emotional outbursts, the kids and yours, tracking schedules, tracking where they left their shoes, if they've done their homework, if the homework made it back into the backpack, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments. You're constantly switching tasks from making breakfast to cleaning to cleaning up a spill, answering some random but ultimately pretty fun questions that come out of your kids' mouths. But for a neurotypical brain, this is exhausting. For an ADHD brain, this is a fucking war zone sometimes. And research has shown that ADHD is fundamentally a performance deficit deficit, sorry, in these exact executive functions. We don't lack the knowledge of what to do. We lack the brain's timing and the filtering of the mechanics to execute those effortlessly, seamlessly. So if you have ADHD, your working memory, that mental sticky note in your brain, that's incredibly small. So when your child asks for a snack while you're trying to find their lost shoe, what happens? That sticky note falls off the damn wall, right? And then the shoe's forgotten, the snack is forgotten, and you're standing in the hallway screaming internally because your system just crashed. But what that looks like on the outside out loud is you standing there with a confused look on your face and saying, why the fuck am I standing here again? What did I come here to do? That happens a lot. Just admit it. It happens a lot. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about the emotional side of things. So let's talk about emotional regulation. ADHD isn't just about losing your keys. Emotional dysregulation is it's a core component of adult ADHD, and we feel things it intensely. When our kids are melting down, our nervous systems mirror that chaos. So instead of naturally being the calm for our kids, we get triggered. We feel the rage. We feel the anxiety, the absolute sensory claustrophobia of a child crying while the TV is blaring and the dinner is burning. And going back to the first few months after I was diagnosed with ADHD, I felt so much guilt about that. So much guilt about that emotional dysfunction, right? It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought my impatience made me a bad parent. But understanding the science behind it changed everything for me. It's not a character flaw, it's a neurological response. So our brains are working twice as hard to process the stimuli that others filter out automatically. I want to take a quick second to pause and to talk about my company, Weekend Wild. It's an outdoor lifestyle brand built around one idea: spend less time on your screens and more time outside. If you head over to weekendwildmi.com, you can check out all the gear that we have. And if you use the code Wild Focus 15, you can get 15% off your entire purchase. Now, this is the part that really means a lot to me. 10% of all sales goes to supporting the DNR Stepping Stones program, which is a nonprofit that is dedicated to helping individuals and families gain access to the outdoors. So if you want to support the podcast along with the DNR Stepping Stones program, please go to weekendwildmi.com today and use that code WILDFOCUS15. And now here's another layer to this onion, and it's a big one. It's ADHD is highly heritable. Studies show that if a parent has ADHD, there is a 40 to 50% chance that their child will have it too. So for many of us, we didn't realize that we had ADHD until our kids started struggling. We would take them to a doctor, and as the doctor listed the symptoms, we sat there thinking, wait, isn't that how everyone lives? Nope. I had a conversation with a friend in the last few weeks, and they took their child to get tested for ADHD, and they shared just what I said. Is they were sitting there like, oh shit. So doc, questions. Can we talk about like what's going on up here? And sure enough, they were also diagnosed with ADHD. But this can create what is referred to as a genetic mirror. Okay. So when your child has ADHD and you have ADHD, you tend to clash with them. You're trying to teach them organizational skills that you haven't yourself mastered, and you're trying to get them to sit still when your own legs are twitching as well. So what could be worse though is when you see them struggle with the exact same things that brought you pain as a child. You see them forget their homework. You see them get rejected by peers. You see them lose their temper, and it triggers your own unresolved childhood trauma. You desperately want to save them from the struggles that you had, but you feel unequipped because you're still drowning in your own symptoms. Now, I can remember a couple weeks ago where I was watching, well, I wasn't watching, I was a part of my kid kind of, I don't want to say losing their mind over a transition to stop playing basketball or a game to start resting for bed. And I felt this surge, if you will, of frustration, but behind it was a crushing wave of grief. I realized that they weren't doing this to push my buttons. Their brain just literally could not shift gears right in that moment, just like mine doesn't shift gears right then in the moment. And the guilt trap tells us that we're failing them, right? But the reality is though, is having an ADHD parent can actually be a massive blessing for a kid that has ADHD as well. Why? Why is that? It's, if you think about it, it's because of empathy. A neurotypical parent could look at that situation at that child and just label them as lazy or defiant. But if you're a parent with ADHD, we know exactly how heavy that invisible backpack can feel. We know what it feels like to want to do the thing, but your brain just says, nope, not today or tomorrow. So how do we survive this? How do we stop drowning in the domestic chaos and actually connect with our kids? Well, one of those answers, well, for me, I'll say, and this is probably no shock, I when I started my company Weekend and Wild, it was because I needed that escape from that rigid, boxed in structure of everyday modern life. I needed to get outside, to move, to breathe, and to not rely on devices day in and day out because those are scientifically proven to worsen ADHD symptoms. And as I have been studying ADHD for the past 7 months, I stumbled across this concept called the green time. And I'm hoping I do not mess these names up, but it's honestly a pretty famous series of studies that are done by Dr. Francis Kuo and Dr. Andrea Faber Taylor. Again, hopefully I didn't butcher those names, but these were done at the University of Illinois. And they found that the exposure to natural green settings significantly reduces ADHD symptoms in adults and in kids. Nature can act as that natural filter for sensory overload. And in the house, the walls feel like they are closing in sometimes, right? There's chores staring at you, electronics buzzing, attention. It's like a minefield of executive dysfunction. But I have found that when I take my kids outside, when we head out to play basketball or volleyball or play catch with the football, sometimes we'll actually even go for a hike or just a family walk, and we might end up just sitting by a river. And in those moments, everything changes. And it's because the environment is softer. Nature does not demand executive functioning. It doesn't ask you to organize spreadsheets, to remember a permission slip, to pack a lunch. None of that. It offers what psychologists call soft fascination. And that means elements like moving water, the rustling leaves, clouds, they can hold your attention effortlessly without draining any sort of mental energy. Outside, I have found that ADHD kind of becomes a superpower for me. So when I'm out there, my energy returns and it gets me to where I can match my kids' energy. For the most part, keep in mind, I am 39. I'm getting up there in in ways. And man, kids have endless energy, and that is so much fun to watch most of the time and to participate. I hang in there, folks. I do hang in there, but I feel like each year gets a little bit harder. But when I'm out there in nature, it helps bring my energy back up, especially after a long day. My my ability to notice every little detail, the weird bug that's on the tree, like a strangely shaped rock, the a track in the mud, and I see that and I point attention to the kids and I try to have them guess what animal made it. But all of that just it brings out fun in me. And it helps me get back to center and be more engaged as a parent. The clutter is gone. The pressure to conform to a neat, tidy, like neurotypical household standard is is just gone. I think that if you have ADHD as a parent, we need to rewild ourselves and our parenting. And if you are struggling inside the house, then take a few moments, pack a bag full of snacks and forget the messy kitchen or living room for a few hours and just go outside. Let nature do all that heavy lifting of regulating your nervous system. But I know sometimes outside nature is not the answer. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to offer up some other tips and tricks that could help you if you are a parent with ADHD. And the first one is it will help with managing that sensory red line. And if you have ADHD as a parent, you know that feeling when like the TV is on, the kids are being loud, and then suddenly the physical sensation of your own shirt can feel like sandpaper and it just sets you off. That's what I mean by sensory red line. So what do we do to get to a point to where we don't hit that red line? Well, we can do pattern interruptions. And what I mean by that is when you feel that rage or that panic rising, don't keep pushing through. Instead, try this: step away. Even for 30 seconds, put yourself in a timeout in a quiet room and let that recalibrate your nervous system. You can also do what's called the grounding move, and that's where you try the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And you notice 5 things that you can see, 4 that you can touch, 3 that you can hear, 2 that you can smell, and 1 you can taste. Now, just putting this out there, if there's nothing to taste in that room, don't try. Don't try to find something. Don't be that person. All right. Don't let your kids walk in and find you licking like a lamp. Like that's not what I mean by this. You can filter in and out different things to instead of like smell or taste, you can filter that out with something else. Maybe put a color in there instead or a shape. You can do that. Um, yeah, don't stick to that smell and taste if there's nothing in that room, please. You can use noise canceling headphones. You can dim lights also to reduce that total like incoming of data that your brain has to process. Now we can also outsource our brain. And what I mean by this is I used to have like 15 different to-do lists scattered all around. None of them worked because I forgot where half of those lists were. And then when I found them, I looked at them. Did those things get done? No. So build that external command center in one high traffic area. You can also use color coding. Now, when I'm going to go back a little bit. I was in therapy previously for something other than ADHD. Okay. But while talking to my therapist, they kind of noticed symptoms of ADHD. And they were not an expert in it, but they did offer me some few little steps of what I could do to try to help manage the chaos. And one of them was color coding. And I thought, man, that is so simple. That just will not work. I promise you, it did actually help. Now, by itself, it only lasted a certain amount of time. But when I learned later after my diagnosis how to pair it with different systems, it actually has come in handy at home and at work. So let's dive into that. So, color coding everything, that means like there could be a different color for each family member. So, what that will do is actually reduce that mental load of reading every single entry or chore or task that that person has to do. Or if they contribute to writing a note, if they do it in that color, you can associate that color with the person, and it's easier to remember, to retain, and to follow up on if you need to. Now, this when I was doing some research, they called it the launch pad, which makes sense, but it's a designated spot by the door that items that have to leave the house just live. So your keys, backpacks, um, lunch bags, whatever. If you're going to the beach bag, what so you don't forget, you know, suntan lotion or a sunscreen. And now your kid looks like a damn lobster hour into being at the beach and now the trip's cut short. This launch pad is exists for those things that you have to leave the house with. We can also do what is referred to most commonly as a no word rule. That means that if a task has more than 3 steps, you break it down into tiny bite sized checklists on a sticky note, right where that task needs to happen. Like one on the mirror for morning bathroom routine. That will help with, again, your checklists in the morning, but also kind of for your kids as well too, especially if you have kids with ADHD. So those were some tips that I wanted to offer up to see if that may help you as you're trying to manage your symptoms while being a fully functioning adult and parent. But remember that these aren't just tips. They're prosthetic supports for an executive function deficit. So, what I mean by that is you wouldn't just tell somebody with a broken foot just to go and walk better, would you? Hopefully not. You would give them crutches. These hacks and these tips and tricks are your crutches, and you can use those without shame because, again, our brains run on different systems. They're wired differently. So and that's fine. We just need to find those what those systems are that will work for us and build around them without shame. And so as we wrap up the episode today, I want to leave you with a thought. You do not need to be a neurotypical parent to be a perfect parent. Your kids do not need a parent who never loses their keys, who who keeps that immaculate clean house. They need a parent who loves them, who understands them, and shows up in ways that teach them how to navigate a world that may or may not have been built for them. So please be kind to your brain. It's honestly doing the best that it can. And if you forget a lunchbox, don't lose your temper. Apologize to your kid. Explain that your brain just got overwhelmed and show them what self compassion looks like. You're teaching them how to be an imperfect, resilient human being. So, if this episode has resonated with you, please share it with another tired, overwhelmed ADHD parent who needs to hear that they're not alone. And I want to thank you all for walking this 7-month journey with me. I promise you, there's a lot more to cover. There's a lot more episodes coming your way. Please do not forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this. It's really going to help the show continue to grow. And honestly, we're 10 episodes in. Like I said, I'm super proud to be here talking to you all about my journey and sharing my, like I said, my raw, unfiltered diary, if you will. And I'm hoping this does resonate with people. So if it does, again, please don't be shy to send me your story, leave a comment on a video, on a clip, on the show itself. I love reading those. I love interacting with you all. So please don't be shy. Go ahead and do those things. And just remember too, like I always say, your brain's not broken. You're just working with different systems. So let's learn what those systems are and let's build those. And we can do that together as a community. So again, I appreciate you all for tuning in. This is Wild Focus.